Hello and welcome to Chapter 7. So in Chapter 7 we're going to talk about social and group processes in organizations. So this is how not just individuals but groups operate in the social setting of an organization. As we learned back in the Hawthorne experiments where the high school age girls anyway, were winding the relays, right? These group processes in the social settings absolutely matter when humans try to do things in groups. So here's a few things we're going to look at in this chapter. These are all listed out in the book. Let's jump to it. So what's the difference between a group and a team? Think about it. What's the difference between a group and a team? So a group, two or more people interact with one another so that one person's influence is influenced by the other. So we sort of do things, and I think of that as doing something in parallel. A team is interdependent, right? At least two people share a common goal, but they must work together to achieve that goal, which isn't so clear from this definition here. So I think of group as we may do the same thing. So if we're college students, we all get in the same van to go to a concert together. That's a group. That is not a team. But if the van gets a flat tire and somebody's going to get out the tire, somebody else is going to get out the jack, and somebody else is going to look up how to do all this in the owner's manual, all that, now we're all working together in a coordinated effort. That would be a team. And sometimes we have formal teams that are created by organizations. Sometimes we have informal teams we figured out amongst ourselves because that's the best way of working. All right, so sometimes we have functional teams, which is as part of a team composition, which means they're from the same department, the same functional area. So they're all from IT, information technology, and they're working on the server farm. That would be a functional team. A cross-functional team is we're going to get a representative from each department, put them on this team to help have employee input into management decisions about which health benefits we should get for the employees. That would be a cross-functional team. Often we use them when we have something complicated to do, like when Apple goes to do a new iPhone, you can be sure there's many different functions represented on that team. There would be marketing, there would be engineering, there would be software. There's actually many types of software in a cell phone. The phone, the calling, the voice recognition, the memory, all that takes different chunks of software, which had different software teams. The operating system, the whole smartphone things with the apps, right? All those are different. So those would be all different teams, right? There's a lot of software in your smartphone if you weren't aware of it. The mechanical engineers that make the plastic housing, the electrical engineers that make the battery and the circuit board, right? All of that. It takes a lot of stuff. The industrial design people decide what the phone's going to look like. And the manufacturing people who make sure this thing is designed so it can be built in an economical fashion, in a high quality fashion, right? All those are going to be on the team. So you're going to have a hugely cross-functional team doing a complex task like that. And sometimes we have a problem-solving team, which I think of as more like a cross-functional team. We'll get the right people on this problem so we can get to a solution. And if we need to go and get more help, we'll go get more help. But that's how we solve complex problems. Sometimes we have a self-directed team where it sets its own goals. So think of it like a leaderless team. Only the team is its own leader. So we're going to set goals, we're going to agree to it, and then we're going to adhere to those. Doesn't mean we get to do anything we want it. The team has direction. Just the team gets to set the direction. Sometimes these can improve commitment, quality, and efficiency. I talked earlier about how when people get to decide their own schedules, when people get to make their own choices, they're much more liable to live up to those. So you can have sort of a hybrid, I guess, between a self-directed team or a team with a leader, but the leader lets the team decide where they're qualified to decide. They might not have enough information or experience to make certain decisions on their own. Venture team, not as common, operates semi-autonomously to create and develop new products and so forth. So what happens there is sometimes there's a term used from the 1960s in the aerospace industry. They would call them skunk work operations. And what that means is skunk work, right, like the animal. And they would go off on their own, separate them from the rest of the company, and they would sort of ignore the company rules, processes, and all that, and just pretend they were a small company with no rules and just have at it. So they would work like crazy. They would bend all the rules or throw out all the rules. They would forget the paperwork, let's just get it done kind of approach. And sometimes teams like that can make huge strides in a very, very short period of time. Now, that's not to say they're pirates and they're doing things that the company doesn't want them to do. They're absolutely sponsored by the company. It's just that they have the luxury of not following all the rules and processes and quality checks and all the kind of thing that are in there for the rest of the organization, and often they can get things done much faster that way. Sometimes there's virtual teams, and a virtual team certainly wasn't around much before the internet, but now we got this easy way for people to communicate all over the globe. So when I got my doctorate in management, there was a guy in my program who was an IT consultant for Spanish-speaking banks. That was his market. And if you didn't know, banks are basically big computer systems. They don't really have piles and piles of money back there. I mean, they have some money, but not piles. Most of the money is electronic, and certainly most of the movement of money is electronic. So they need really good IT systems. And so his thing was, he would bid for jobs at Spanish-speaking banks, whether it's in Mexico or Colombia or South America, anywhere like that. And then when he gets the job, he was the company all by himself. And when we'd get a job, he had this huge contact list of people that did different IT jobs. And he would call them and he would say, "Hey, Joe, I got a job. It starts in 3 months. It's 6 months long and it pays X. I want you to do this. Are you in?" And Joe might say, "Yeah, I'm in." And then he goes to the next person. "Hey, Sally, I got a job. It starts in 4 months and I need you to do X in 3 months." And then maybe she says yes, or if she's busy, then he just goes on to the next person. Right? So that's when we had a virtual team. He actually had a virtual company, right? Which is he operated in team mode, but he actually had a virtual company. By the way, he told me a good trick there. If you're ever on a virtual team like that, you know how when you email with somebody you've never talked to or met, you're not sure if they're joking or not, you're not sure if you should be super formal or if they're a jokester and like to kid around and all of that. So his strong suggestion was, if anybody's going to put together a virtual team to work on something, you should get everybody together in the same room, physically together, not just Skyping together, and let them spend some time together so they learn each other, they learn the way they operate, and then things go a lot smoother. People communicate better, there's fewer miscommunications, and when I know the person that I'm supposed to deliver my work to, I'm much more liable to get the work to them on time and correct than just turning the person into some nameless face on my virtual team who I've never met. Right? That's just the way we humans are wired. So I thought that was a good look at not only how a virtual team worked, but actually his whole organization was virtual, which is an interesting way to run the business.